As Chris and Sana were reviewing the way to their destination from Cannon's Pier once again, music suddenly echoed in their mind. Then, a voice echoed.
We would like to inform the citizens of the underwater city Atlias. A fireworks display by visitors from the surface world will begin shortly. Therefore, we will be turning off the Solumen of Atlias. We apologize for the inconvenience, but please take a moment to enjoy the fireworks presented by the surface dwellers.
Then the music started playing again. As soon as the broadcast ended, Rowan arrived.
Are you all ready?
Everyone nodded and stood up.
Okay, then let's go.
With that, the group left Rowan's house, seen off by Lamek and Alyosha. It was already dark outside. However, since light was emanating from the ground of the street, there was no difficulty in moving. Light was emanating from the roofs and exterior walls of the buildings, making it seem as if the entire city was decorated with illumination. The group traveled to the nearest pier by splitting into 2 small boats. Ships were already waiting at the pier. The ships were also adorned with electric lights, emitting a dazzling glow like a ride at an amusement park.
Well then, are you all right?
Rowan confirmed as he looked around at everyone after stepping down from the small boat. In a show of firm resolve, everyone nodded with serious expressions.
Martis, Clare, and I will move from here to that small boat over there.
Rowan said, pointing to where 2 small boats were docked for Clare and Martis to board.
That ship is heading to Cannon.
Rowan pointed to the ship at the far end, after giving a glance to Chris and Sana. Then, he indicated the ships heading to Taduro and Reguia to Elandra and Ramal, respectively. So, Chris, are you okay? Clare peered into Chris's face with a look of concern. After taking a deep breath, Chris nodded back. Once you arrive at your destination, connect to Alnect, Clare said with a smile, as if to reassure him, and headed towards the small boat. Waving to Clare, Chris and Sana boarded the ship bound for Cannon.
Hey.
The visibly aged captain smiled at Chris and Sana. He had a small build and a face full of wrinkles. His smiling face was missing its front teeth.
Well then, we're gonna leave,
mumbled the old man. Hearing those words, Sana furrowed her brows and looked at Chris. Chris also tilted his head with a puzzled expression. It was because the old man was speaking. They had never met a person from underwater world who speaks, so it was surprising. Wow, amazing. Bibi, sitting on the railing of the deck, said excitedly. The short, cut-off tail is wagging in small motions. The view from the ship that rose up was just like the night scenery of a big city. Moreover, the sky was filled with many ships gathering from all directions. Even without the fireworks, Chris thought this scenery was impressive enough. The ship that Chris and the others were on moved further away from Ashinavis, as if to defy the approaching ship. Once they left Ashinavis, the surroundings became pitch dark. Only a few ships were passing by heading towards Ashinavis. Chris checked his current location at Oromorus. It was about time to arrive at Cannon. Relying on the map of Oromorus, Chris confirmed the direction where Cannon was located, and indeed, there was a small glowing city in the darkness. When Chris pointed to the city and called out to Sana, suddenly music echoed again.
This is an announcement for everyone in the underwater city of Atlias. Thank you for your patience. We will now begin the fireworks. We kindly ask everyone gathered to minimize the lumens of their ships. Now, please enjoy.
After the broadcast, music played again, and with a sound like a whoosh, a fireball rose from the direction of Ashinavis. Right after it flashed brightly, colorful sparks scattered in the darkness. A booming explosion sound echoed, as if it were delayed. It was an enormous firework, with vibrations in the air that could be felt on the skin. With that as a start, fireworks began to launch one after another. The fireworks that went off were not just round shapes, but also included shapes inspired by the underwater world, such as dolphins, whales, mermaids, and ships.
Wow, amazing.
As Chris was captivated by the fireworks, Sana tapped him on the shoulder.
Hey, look at that.
Sana pointed towards the direction of the fireworks on the left.
Huh? Where?
Even after looking in the direction Sana pointed, Chris couldn't see anything.
That's it, that big ship over there.
Sana said just as a large firework went off. Then, a silhouette of a ship emerged in the direction pointed out by Sana. The hull was black and did not have lights like the other ships, making it hard to see in the darkness. However, there was indeed a ship approaching that was noticeably larger than the one Chris was on.
It is coming over at an incredible speed.
Chris said, then Sana looked around and replied.
By the way, this ship is not moving, isn't it?
Chris quickly checked their current location with the Ouroboros. Indeed, as Sana said, it seemed they had been staying in the same place since the fireworks went off.
Eek!
The moment she turned to look at the captain, Sana let out a scream.
Hee hee hee.
The captain was choking Sana's neck with his arm. In his other hand, he was holding a sword that was curved upward.
Hand over the Ouroboros.
The captain said, pointing the sword towards Chris.
You too.
The captain shook the arm that was choking Sana and instructed her to remove the Ouroboros as well. Chris stopped Bibi, who was trying to charge forward while barking.
Take off that thing around the dog's neck too.
Sana looked at Chris with a frightened expression. Chris nodded in response. For now, it seems better to obediently follow what was said. Chris took off Bib's collar and also removed his own ring. Sana also took off her ring and handed it to the captain. Then, following the captain's instructions, Chris handed the removed Ouroboros to Sana. And when she handed them over to the captain, he pushed Sana away.
No.
Chris caught Sana as she was pushed. Chris's voice trembled as he asked, "Are you okay?" Sana, who nodded back, also had teary eyes. The captain was watching the two with a grin. Just then, the large black ship from earlier pulled up alongside and came to a stop. The ship was carrying a large number of men. When the ladder was thrown to the ship that Chris and the others were on, a large bald man came over the ladder. He was holding a gun in one hand and had a bandage wrapped around the other arm. That man was the pirate, Luke, who had his arm burned by Elandra at the Ascension tavern.
Nero, good job.
Luke said to the captain, who grinned and handed over the Ouroboros. Luke didn't take it and instructed the pirate behind him to pass it on.
Hey, do you remember me?
Luke said to Chris, flashing a grin.
I won't let you say you forgot.
Chris froze as he was shot a piercing glance.
I can't believe that brat from back then was actually the chosen one, sent from the underground city. Well, it turned out to be convenient for us. We can take our revenge and at the same time get the crystal element. It's literally killing two birds with one stone. After getting the crystal element, I'll take my time tormenting that lady who was with you at the tavern.
Luke laughed loudly, resting the gun on his shoulder.
What do you plan to do once you get the crystal element?
Sana asked boldly while clinging to Chris's arm.
Huh? That doesn't concern you guys.
Luke replied, glaring at Sana.
It's just about making money. After all, we're pirates, so we can't help but get our hands on anything that can make us money.
With that, Luke laughed loudly again. The surrounding pirates were also laughing out loud.
So, you don't mind if the Earth is destroyed? If the crystal element falls into the hands of the dark forces, the Earth will be doomed, you know?
The pirates exchanged glances at Sana's plea, their faces showing a mocking expression of, huh?
What is this kid talking about? Is she out of her mind?
The pirates laughed out loud again.
What she is saying is not a lie.
Summoning all his courage, Chris also pleaded.
If the crystal element falls into the hands of the dark forces, the ascension will be prevented, and the earth will be destroyed. Therefore, we must never hand Aqua over to the dark forces.
However, the pirates paid no heed to this.
There's no way the Earth is going to be destroyed. Trying to escape from this situation with such nonsensical excuses is pointless. Anyway, you need to find the crystal element, capture them and bring them aboard the ship.
Luke ordered, and 3 men seized Chris and Sana. However, Bibi flitted about, trying not to get caught.
Bibi.
Chris called out to Bibi while crossing a ladder led by the pirates. The pirates are also armed with guns. Chris was filled with anxiety, thinking it would be terrible if they shot. Bibi flapped its wings and flew over to Chris. At that moment, Chris felt relieved, thinking that Bibi seemed to understand his feelings. Suddenly, Bibi bit the pirate who was holding Chris down.
Ouch.
The pirate suddenly shouted, releasing Chris's arm and holding his nose.
What the hell are you doing, you damn dog?
The bitten pirate swung his arm, trying to hit Bibi. Bibi deftly dodged it.
Shoot that dog.
Luke shouted.
Yes, sir.
The pirate on the black ship aimed his gun at Bibi.
Oh my god.
Chris instinctively reached out his hand toward Bibi. Bang! With a dry sound, a heavy impact ran through Chris's back. The outstretched hand fell down without touching Bibi. The foot had missed the rung of the ladder, falling backward and landing on his back in a reverse position. In Chris's eyes, the faces of the pirates looking down at him as he falls, along with Bibi and Sana, were reflected. Is my life going to end like this again? The scene from when Chris died in a past life flashed through his mind like a revolving lantern. Sana's anguished scream echoed in his head.